Welcome to Real Turkey channel. This is your usual host Atilla Yeşilada reporting from Istanbul, where the motto is each new day brings a new crisis. This time I'm going to talk about Turkey being on the verge of a currency crisis, also called balance of payments crisis, currency shock, etc., etc. I even prepared a cover for this. Let's present that. Why are we on the verge of a currency crisis? Because dollar TL, which is the crucial currency for Turkey, has gained 20% in 2 weeks. That is, our monetary unit has lost 20% of its purchasing power. And this is not the worst. It's just starting. It's going to devaluate or depreciate further. How do I know? Well, I will tell you in the span of next 20 minutes. Why? Well, because we have a president who is one of a kind. I really honestly can't find any other words to describe our president, Mr. Erdogan. And yes, whatever happens in Turkey is either to Mr. Erdogan's credit or to his fault, and this too is his fault. He screwed up badly this time. But this is an issue I covered in my previous video, I think titled How Erdogan Destroyed the Turkish Economy in 10 Days, which proved prescient, whatever. Today I'm going to tell you how we are inching towards a currency crisis, what will happen in the next few weeks, and whether there is a solution. Yes, there is a very simple solution. Well, that solution to me is for Mr. Erdogan to announce his retirement, as I have broadcast in a previous video. But let's face it, we do realpolitik here. It's not going to happen. And may he live for 10,000 years. He's still, a young rookie for Turkish politicians who live into their second and third century thanks to the agreement they cut with devil. And devil really got a bad bargain because Turkish politicians have no soul. It's an ugly business. Anyhow, but I'm going to talk about specific solutions. I am broadcasting this video at roughly 7 p.m. Istanbul time on Tuesday. The dollar TL pair is trading at 7.3. So to buy a dollar, Turks have to pay 7 liras and 30 pennies, which is called kuruşes in Turkey. About 3 weeks ago, the exchange rate was at 6.85. So roughly 20% devaluation. Actually, the economists among you would correct me and say, yo, bro, it's not called devaluation, it's called depreciation. But devaluation just rolls off easier on the tongue. So I'm going to stick with devaluation. And why? So what? I mean, Brazilian real too lost more than Turkish lira. They're not on the verge of a crisis. Why is Turkey different? Well, this is going to reverberate in the real economy like a nuclear aftershock. The rule is simple. Whenever Turkish lira depreciates by 10%, Turkey's inflation rises an additional 2% over the next 12 months. So 20% depreciation. Starting in May, we're going to face an inflationary tsunami. Turkish inflation is going to go up to 2% by summer months. Ceteris paribus, which means leaving all the other mistakes Erdogan made aside, which will make things worse. But that's not the topic of today's video. 2, Turkey's companies, all from the very top to the very small, are heavily indebted. And many of them are also in debt to banks in dollars. Roughly 70% of foreign currency debt in Turkey is in dollars, 30% is in TL, in euros. The depreciation of the Turkish lira, coupled with the rise in the American dollar against all currencies and American bond yields, means that whether a company borrows in dollars or TL, it will have to pay a higher interest rate. Its financing expenses will go up. And we're speaking about a country where there are 32,000 COVID cases a day, 160 deaths, and on 13th, the holy month of Ramadan for Muslims, also called the month of fasting, is starting, and President Erdogan declared weekend curfews and a closure of all restaurants throughout the 30 days. So you can imagine 60%, Turkey's 60% of Turkish output is created by service industries. They're pretty much dead. Unemployment currently 30%. Well, it's not going to get better. And now, these companies, which are either closed by law or can't make any sales because people are afraid to go out and socialize and drink at bars and cafes, will see their loan costs, their financing costs soar 20-30%. Many will declare bankruptcy and lay off their workers. At that point, it becomes a social disaster. It goes beyond economics. We're talking about real hunger and poverty. And wait, I'm not done yet. This is only the opening scenes of a drama. It gets more macabre. This devaluation, inflation spiral, and it is a spiral, meaning that devaluation pushes inflation up. When inflation goes up, people want to buy more hard currencies, so we have a second round of devaluation. Truly a spiral. May lead to a bank run. You may have studied bank runs in your Economics 101 books. It happens very rarely. It happened in 1929 and was one of the reasons that precipitated the Great Depression. Essentially, all of the depositors many of the depositors line up to take their deposits out, and banks don't have that much cash. No bank has that much cash. That's a rule of the banking system. And when that happens, you declare a bank holiday. And when you declare a bank holiday, people, economic activity stops because you can't borrow money, you can't send money to your son or daughter or to the company that supplies your inputs. This is where we are today. And if you don't believe me, check the forecasts by Societe Generale, Goldman Sachs, Danske Bank, essentially any other investment bank. They think Turkish lira is going to drop against the dollar to the range of 850 to 9. So another 10% depreciation, devaluation. Everything I've said, turn the spool back, which is an old term, rerun it, and you will see how bad the damage will be. So are we dead? Should we give up hope on Turkey and declare the country legally dead? No. It's very simple. Look, the only reason all of this is happening is Mr. Erdogan's personal whims and the fact that he mixes Islamist ideology with economic policy and governance. Well, since he created this mess, he will have to clean this mess. And even though you might have guessed I am not the greatest fan of President Erdogan, I give the man a credit for being a survivalist, not in the sense of, living in a bunker and having guns, but knowing how to survive in tough conditions. I am fully confident that to save his government, his power, his administration, he's going to do the right thing. And what is the right thing? A, raise interest rates by 400 basis points to stop the bleeding. B, appoint decent people to the cabinet. Former central bank governor Naci Ağbal could, for instance, be put in charge of the economy. Mr. Erdogan must officially renounce that he will insist on lower interest rates and on running the central bank and all the other independent institutions in the country. All of these might have sufficed in normal times, but hey, we're not in normal times. In Turkey, the abnormality comes from the fact that while Turkey is on fire, the rest of the emerging markets or developing nations world is also simmering slowly. They are about to burn. Why? Well, my gratitude goes to Mr. J. Powell and my elder teacher, Professor Dr. Janet Yellen. They are doing the right thing to save the American economy. Biden is spending as much as possible, and Fed is printing huge amounts of money so that Biden or Janet Yellen can borrow at very cheap rates and use the money to alleviate the pain of the people and to undertake the necessary investment in human capacity and technological infrastructure to catch up with China. Now, I am sure there are a lot of Republicans out there who say, well, who's going to pay for that? Or, God, we're running huge budget deficits. Next generations will have to pay for that. It doesn't have to be that way. But this is not my topic. I don't want to get into American politics. But if you read IMF, as importantly, if you read Professor Dr. Carmen Reinhardt, who is currently the chief economist of the World Bank, and she really is, our goddess. I did some PhD work on financial crises, and Kenneth Rogoff and Carmen Reinhardt know this stuff inside out. They have studied financial crises over the last 400 months. They also say, spend now, think later. So, I don't blame Janet Yellen or Jay Powell, but the fact is, the more they spend, the faster the American economy will grow, and at least temporarily, since supply can't catch up to demand, there will be inflation. And of course, as Ray Dalio, one of the biggest fund managers in Wall Street, said, if inflation is 2%, I'm not going to hold bonds that yield 1.5%. You have to be stupid to do that. And he's correct. So what happens? As inflation goes up, it pulls up inflation expectations, which pulls up American bond yields. American 10-year bond yields could go up to 2%. Again, not my own forecast. I'm reading the literature, perhaps even temporarily to 2.5%. This is a problem for emerging markets, all of which are heavily indebted in dollars. But the bigger problems is, of course, the attractiveness of American bonds vis-a-vis, say, German or Brazilian or Chinese bonds draws money into the American system. Because to buy American bonds, you need American dollars. So you exchange your local currency for American dollars. And what happens? Well, basic supply and demand. American dollars appreciate. Now, if you're a country like Turkey, which has to roll over or redeem or refinance $190 billion of foreign debt, 60% of which is in dollars in the next 12 months, it's a double whammy. You get hurt on rising American interest rates, you get hurt on rising American dollar. And it's not only Turkey. Brazil, Hungary, I remember the ranking. China, most of the emerging market countries are hugely indebted, and a substantial portion of it is in American dollars. I made this digression to show that even if Turkey corrects its own political mistakes and finds the light, as long as global emerging markets are in a bad shape and are not drawing enough financial capital, Turkish economy will not improve. So Erdogan may renege and may pay penitence, but that would only stop the bleeding. As I have forecast at the beginning of the year, Turkey is not going to grow 5-6% this year, 2% at best. But no worries. In that sense, I trust Erdogan. He will do in a month what needs to be done. Oh, I forgot the last thing. If Turkey really wishes to draw a lot of foreign capital, which would, of course, lead to the appreciation of Turkish lira and solve all the problems I mentioned, it has to do one more thing. It has to shake hands with Joe Biden and the EU, because both of them are threatening sanctions if we don't behave ourselves. Whatever it takes. Thank you very much for listening another horror show. Oops, I'm sorry. It's Freddy's Nightmares. Oh, it's Friday the 13th. No, it has been another broadcast of Real Turkey Channel by poor Attila Eşilada, which I'm sure is going to draw really hellish comments. Anyhow, thanks for watching. I have a final request or some advertising if you want to. Not me, but my professors allowed me to write a chapter in this book, Turkish Economy at the Crossroads. All of the Turkish economists that you may also know from the world news, such as Daron Acemoğlu, Murat Uçer, and of course, yours truly, are in here. Now it's at 20 or 30% discount. You can order it or find it through Amazon or any other bookstore, I think. It's not for everyone. Only buy it if you're interested in really understanding the history and the current problems of the Turkish economy. Once again, I am deeply grateful for all of your comments, good or bad. Please keep sending them. And if you like this video, share it with people who might be interested in Turkey. This is Attila Eşilada for Real Turkey Channel saying goodbye from Turkey.